lasses, and welcome to Darts Coaching with Dynamite Dave. This is a very special 3-part series. It's all about somebody who comes over and has coaching with Dynamite Dave. So basically the one-to-one face-to-face coaching and the results that it can have. So Steve arrived on Friday, and what he did was he booked himself into the Village Hotel, which is the hotel that we recommend. Right, so what we'll do now is we'll go over into section 1. And what we'll do over in section 1 is we'll have a look at Steve's original throw when he came, the basis for and the foundation blocks for changing that throw. If you've got a fundamentally flawed throw, what I'll do is I'll actually dismantle that throw and rebuild you a really good, solid, reliable throw. So let's go over there right now. Right, here we are over in section 1, and what we're going to do is we're going to start Steve's story right from the beginning. As he's setting himself up here, you can see he's got not a bad stance shoulder wise, but you can see the throw needs a total rethink. As you can see, as Steve's driving the dart forward, he's fetching it above his head, right out above the top of his head. So it's very inconsistent, very inaccurate, which was obvious in the way that his darts were hitting the board. The first day that he came, as he used his old throw and we actually started to convert it to the Dynamite Dave throw or an halfway house. What we've got to do in the first place is it's more of an halfway house. It's very difficult to go straight from one throw to another. Obviously 3 days is not enough to complete the throw. It's not enough to mean that you walk in here on day 1 and you walk out with the Dynamite Dave throw absolutely nailed after 3 days. It doesn't work like that. I've said this on 1,000,001 occasions. It takes time to bed in, and your brain, as you'll see as we go through the episodes, tries to take you back to where you used to be. What happened with Steve? At first he grasped it quite well, and then when we'd be throwing, so basically we'd be going either round or he'd be going backward and forward to the hockey, you'd notice that his old way started to creep back in again. So it's just that really good part of one-to-one coaching, the face-to-face coaching, is the fact that I'm actually there. So as you start to slip back, I'll say, hang on a minute, this is what you're doing, bring you back to the correct throw and what have you, and then move on. Yeah, so on the first day, Steve had a bit of a grueler. Steve actually had 4 hours on the first day, so that was quite a grueler the first day. However, you could tell the difference between when he went home, and this is another part of it that you have to explain to people, which is something that they don't realise until you actually mention it to them, and then when they come back for the next session, it just materialises itself and they actually start to understand the depth of thought that I have behind the coaching and what have you, and the depth of thought that I have on the way that I actually change things. And it took years and years to develop the Dynamite Dave way, and it works. It absolutely works. There's thousands of people now that are using the Dynamite Dave way, or they've converted their throw through the YouTube channel a little bit towards it, and it's made a massive difference to the way that they play darts. So the biggest differences that you see are when people have been away for a rest. The reason for this is we process things when we're not actually doing them, and you sort of learn it, and then when you go home at night time, Maureen comes and she puts all the files in the right place in your brain, and that's what babies do, why babies learn. So when Steve came back for the second session, the difference in his ability in just that 4 hours, that first 4 hours on the first day, it was marked. The first day is probably the sort of like mixture day where you've got your highs and lows. It's the building blocks of what's to come next. So that will be in the next episode. Right, hi lads and lasses, welcome to Darts Coaching with Dynamite Dave. Today we've got to the, let's say the meat and two veg of this. It's day 2 of the Steve Lamour story. Right, hi lads and lasses. Today is day 2 of the Steve Lamour story, and what we're going to do today is actually get into the proper bones of it, the meat and two veg of it. This is where we're going to show you today. It's going to be quite a bit longer a video than it was yesterday, and hopefully it'll be a little bit more interesting. I'm going to now go through the ways that I've changed Steve's throw. We've seen in yesterday's, and we'll have a little bit of a recap of it before we go too much further. As we go through the video in the different sections, what we'll do is we'll have a recap of how Steve threw when he first came, and then what we'll do is we'll go on to how we've changed his throw on day 2. Some of the first clips are from day 1, session 2, but that was where I actually just started to ease him across into changing his throw, pointing out where he was going wrong and encouraging him to change slightly. And it started off with a little bit of a change, a little bit more of a change, and a little bit more of a change. So what we'll do is we'll go straight over into section 1 right now, and we can have a look where it all gets started. So let's go over there right now. Right, so here we are over in the first little bit where Steve has first come. What we're doing in this clip, because obviously what I've done is you don't want somebody to walk through the door and just start recording them. So what I've done is I've had Steve in the room now probably for about half an hour. Been settling him down. Obviously when you first turn up to something new like coaching or a new job or anything like that, it's very it's quite stressful, to be honest with you, especially when you don't know like what to expect and that. So it's really important that you spend the first half an hour, 40 minutes getting people settled in, just allowing them to throw whichever way they want. I just say to them, get yourself a bit of a warm up. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll leave the room, go make a brew or something like that, ask them whether they want a drink of tea, make a brew, and that just gives them that 4 or 5 minutes to be on their own in the room and just have a little bit of a chuck at first before we get straight into it. First of all, when we start the actual coaching, what we do is we'll get somebody like Steve here. As you can see, the first 5 minutes of me being in the room, all I've done is I've just stood there, watched the way that he throws naturally, and just observed to see where the changes need to be made. Not made any real like suggestions to change yet, because that's the sort of thing, you don't go in like a bull in a china shop. What you do is you have a look and see where each and every and all the faults are, because there's no point in like pinpointing one fault, asking them to change that, then pinpointing another one. What I'll do is I'll observe everything that you do, and then what I'll do is I'll make a constructive thing in my mind of the way that I believe is the best, not only physical but psychological way of changing you from one throw to another. Now, we've heard this on YouTube and Facebook and what have you over the last couple of weeks, and it's one of the things that really winds me up. And hear a lot of the even the professionals, whichever way you throw darts, that's how you're going to throw darts for the rest of your life. Tony O'Shea said it in the so-called World Championships. He turned around and said, well, however you throw when you first start throwing, that's how you throw for the rest of your life. Well, that's only if you never taught anything better. That's like saying, yeah, here's the keys to a car, just go and drive it. Do whatever you want, just go and drive it. As long as you can get it down the road, that's all that matters. Well, I'm sorry, that isn't all that matters. There's a lot to driving a car, and there's a lot to throwing darts, and throwing them well. As I've said on 1001 occasions, if you want to be comfortable throwing your darts and you're crap, and you want to remain comfortably crap, then carry on throwing the way that you want to throw. If you're not good, there's a reason for it, and it's not the fact that we've spoke to people, there's people on the channel, and we're not talking one or two, we're talking hundreds and possibly thousands that have thrown the same way for 1, 2, 10, 20 years, and they're still lower average players, and there's a reason for that, isn't there? Think about it. All you've got to do is think about it. There's a reason for that, and that's what Steve realised. That he was playing darts, he was enjoying playing darts, but he was frustrated because he just couldn't get to that next level. He's come and he's had some coaching with me, 3 days worth of coaching, which is quite a big block, I do get some people come over here for a block of 3. I do get some people who come over here for a week, but that's normally people who are looking for that extra 5%, 4 or 5%. Not really usually the people who are coming from nowhere, because it's a bit too much and it's too intensive. If you're not used to doing the practice and what have you, it can be very grueling. Right, so what we'll do now is we'll get on with watching the clips, and let's see how Steve does here. This is, don't forget, this is his first day after about half an hour of chucking, and we were just settling him in. You have to forgive me, I'm a bit chesty. I think I might have that Chinese flu. Right, so this is the clip that we saw in yesterday's, and like I said, we'd have a bit of a recap, so I thought what I'd do is just integrate it into the actual video itself. So this is how Steve threw, sort of, when he came. It was more extreme than this, because as I said, I've got him in, he's been in half an hour, I've settled him down, and I've just said to him, just try and pull your hand down a little bit from your head when you throw it. And now what we've got is we've got to that first stage of a halfway house. So as you can see here, Steve is coming from anywhere between the top of his eyebrow and the top of his head. When he first came, he was about 2 inches above his head, and obviously up there you've no control over the dart. His arm was completely blocking his vision as he was throwing. The only eye he could use was his left eye, and if he was asked, he probably would have said, I'm left eye dominant. Nah, don't work like that. So here we go, here's me, I'm doing a bit of a chuck for him. This is what I say, sometimes what we'll do is we'll go into like not a game situation, but you have a throw, I have a throw, you have a throw, I have a throw. When I'm throwing, you can stand at the side, as Steve does if you watch him. He stands at the side and he watches the way that I actually throw. So you can see that rocking motion in his body as well, and also something that you can't see is his feet, instead of being flat on the floor like that across the hockey, he's got this foot slightly forward and that foot right the way back, so like duck foot, like duck feet, one going forward and one going backward, and the back heel of his back foot is right up off the floor. Obviously these are the sort of things that we start to control and adjust over the next. This is the second 2 hour session, so that goes on in this session. You just like introduce that slowly, and then in the second day, once he's had a sleep on it, that's when we actually, not go in all guns, but make sure and keep on top of him, make sure that he's actually throwing the darts properly and adjusting him them little bit more, and that's where he starts to see the results from there. Right, so just before we move on to day 2, what I want to show you is about a 5-second clip from the end of day 1. This was just before Steve went back off to the hotel to chill out for the evening and let Maureen put those little files back in the thing. But this is where we've got him to by the end of day 1, and I think you'll actually agree that it's drastic from the first clip that you've just watched a few seconds ago of Steve when he first came. 4 hours after that, so 2 2-hour sessions after that, this is how I'd adjusted Steve's throw from this, and all you're seeing here is from like the chest upwards, so all you're seeing is his actual mechanical throw, and the difference, I think you'll agree, is absolutely stunning from where he was. Right, so here's Steve coming up to address the hockey, and you can see the difference. Look at the difference in that throw, absolutely amazing from where he was. There's no more of that putting his arm over his head. Right, so what we'll do now is, you've seen the throw, what we'll do is we'll slow it down so you can actually see it in slow motion, and you can see the difference between the two throws. It's just absolutely fantastic when you consider the first 2 hours were just a little bit of adjusting and what have you. Second 2 hours we actually got into the bones of it slightly to try and make those fundamental first steps to a change. And the way that he took to it, because of his attitude and what have you, was absolutely fantastic. Right, so now Steve's had the opportunity to have a night off. He's gone back to his hotel. He's going to have a couple of drinks and what have you on the Friday night before the Saturday morning session. Have a nice relax, have a nice evening, just let it all sink in of what's happened on the first day. Obviously, like I say, this is a roller coaster, so I don't know what was going on inside Steve's head, but I think he probably had some mixed feelings as well as positivity at the end of the first day, because I've made those changes, but those changes have not materialised into good throwing. All they've done is they've put the building blocks in there for the good throwing to come on the Saturday, which is day 2. And as day 2 progresses, he gets, not only the throw is getting a bit more tuned, but he's actually starting to see some results. So the results are, when he first came, he had a lot of darts that were falling out of the board, a lot of darts that were bouncing out of the board, a lot of very wayward darts, which is only what's to be expected. This is how normal lower average players are. They're not throwing 60s every visit, they're not throwing 20s every visit. What's known in the trade as muck spreading. So they're all over the place. Rather than being down the line, the darts are drifting off to one side, drifting off to the other. And then on day 2, which is where we're going to now, it starts to hone down, and your accuracy you start to see a big difference in the way that your accuracy affects the darts. And right, so what we can see here is we can see Steve setting himself up on day 2. So day 2, this is Saturday. We've done about an hour. So basically all we're doing is we're fetching Steve back up to what we were doing the day before, reinforcing what he remembers and what he's thinking, the progress that he's made, having a look to see if anything slipped back, and we've been adjusting that over the last hour. And this is how Steve is throwing about an hour into day 2. Day 2, the session was only 2 hours long, so that structures it so this one is a little bit more compact, but more achievements are made. The smaller differences, but they make more to your accuracy. So the accuracy at the end of day 2 was massively different in those 2 hours than it was in the 4 hours the previous day. So let's just have a quick look at Steve chucking here and the difference in the way that he's throwing. It's just absolutely fantastic. Like I say, there's not a massive amount of difference, so you will have to look carefully, but if you look carefully you will see the difference in the way that it's now gone from a rebuilding exercise to a fine-tuning exercise. There's a lot less movement in his darts through there than there was the previous day, and he's now starting to get a little bit more and a little bit better grouping. What I'll do here is I'll go quiet and I'll let you have a listen to what I'm actually saying to him. You can tell the one when you've got the ones where you're getting quite a bit of a flick in it is the ones where they're going all over the place. You're getting one up there and then you're getting 1 miles off to the side when you flick it. See, like that. That one was a flick, it went up and down. Yeah. We'll have a look at the footage in a minute. And that's why it's great to have a long format coaching session. Well, that shows what we've had there, about 6 visits, something like that. 2 180s, 2 140s, that's the sort of standard we've got quality. So, just thought I'd tag that in with a bit of a practice one. Right, so there you go. Right, hi lads and lasses, and welcome to part 3 of the Steve Lamour story. Right, hi lads and lasses, this is the third and final part of the Steve Lamour story. The first 2 parts I found them. Right, so as you saw in that first lot of clips there, Steve's grouping is hit and miss, and then we're getting, every now and again we're getting 2 at home and 1 away, and then in this next set of clips you'll see how the grouping is starting to come together and tighten itself up. And so let's go and have a look at that right now.
Yeah! 37.
second set of clips you could see that Steve's grouping and what have you was coming on better. And this is how it was progressing on. Obviously we can't show you hours and hours of it to show you each and every different aspect of each and every different throw that you made and go through it and analyse it. It just has to be chopped into small bite-sized pieces that are interesting and informative. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go on to the third one here. What we'll do is we'll actually show a couple of legs in the pub, probably include maybe a leg or two with me, and there's another lad in there called Paul Dredge Cole, who's a good mate of mine. We chuck with each other every Sunday, or whenever he's not having to drive on a Sunday, we chuck and we have some really good times. It's nice and relaxed. And if you're ever in the area of Duckingfield on a Sunday afternoon, you're more than welcome to come and have a chuck with us. It's a friendly thing, there's no competitiveness, there's no we're going to hit 10 180s, 20 180s, we just have a bit of fun. There'll be no coaching involved in it because obviously that's my downtime is Sundays, but you're quite welcome. I'm quite happy for you to come and have a game with us, have a couple of legs and what have you. As I've said on many occasions during these 3 videos, it's not the finished article, it's nowhere near. It takes a couple of months. Normally, I think it's going to take Steve 2 to 3 months before he actually becomes not the polished but the finished article, where he can then start to move on and fine-tune things to a point where he's playing at a really, really high standard, and I think that is quite within his capabilities. The amount of progress that he made over 3 days, I was absolutely amazed and stunned with. Fantastic, what a lovely bloke. Anyway, tell you what, let's go over into the final part now. Well, let's go and see how Steve does in the pub playing against me and Dredge. So let's go over there right now.
Same as. 26, yeah. Who's this on the ship? 55. Is that tape starting for me?
Twist it around like that. It won't come out of the threads, it'll just be off the top where your fingers have been catching it.
Horrible.
Magic darts. Fantastic arrows.
So, 85.
Great darts.
Pretty much.
Nowhere near yet.
95.
Brilliant darts. You want 1-on-1 now?
What?
101, Steve. What did you get?
45. 200.
60, innit? Or is it 21?
61.
61.
Oh, there you go, it's amazing, look at that.
61.
63.
60. Oh, you hit it. Oh, dear.
Yeah, double one, yeah.
38 leaves you 2 19s. Oh. So that was more from it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to fix that halo out.
Yeah.
Great darts. Great darts.
That's it. went, yeah.
How many?
Just one.
Can I afford it? 50, 60.
What name?
Stevie.
Stevie.
I'm 229 now.
Yeah, 137.
Ready for it?
Yeah.
92 you want there?
92.
175.
Oh my god, what are you talking?
Oh,
Never do that, you
Alright.
40.
You didn't make me to.
83. 52 you want there?
Yeah.
Saved it. 70. Right, I'll just chuck.
Cheers.
You only throw it though because you got your fucking flyers so much. We've only got your flights here because they're the only big flights I have.
They're odd. That's really quite nice to throw.
Fuck off. 138.
No. 135. Riposte.
45.
140.
140.
Oh, it's the BDO World Championships all over again.
58.
181.
Mine.
Oh, David. 95.
106.
So,
That's
60.
60.
you've lost.
Oh, 46, don't I?
No, you wanted 6.
Alright.
60, didn't you?
60, yeah.
I'm thinking.
He shouted 60.
Yeah,
6. Might go call by accent. The week of understand me clearly.
oh, fucking hell.
60.
What was it, 16?
62.
You want 6.
Alright,
I want 6.
Thank you.
No,